Hey there! Welcome to the Distracted Librarians podcast. We're your friendly neighborhood bookworms with a penchant for all things pop culture.
Picture this as our digital campfire, where we dive into our latest obsessions, analyze our favorite distractions, and rediscover the joy of reading.
Whether you're a media enthusiast, a book lover, or just need a break from the daily grind, you've come to the right spot.
So kick back, relax, and get delightfully distracted with us.
Hey everybody! On today's episode of The Distracted Librarians, we are going to talk about Reader's Advisory. Mostly like how-to Reader's Advisory. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you guys a definition just because this feels very much like librarian speak and not something that people just talk about in general life.
Yeah, for sure.
Reader's Advisory, all right, it is defined as a successful Reader's Advisory service is one in which knowledgeable, non-judgmental staff help fiction readers with their reading needs. This is from Sarix and Brown, Reader's Advisory Service in the Public Library. I don't agree with the fiction thing necessarily.
It's interesting they specified that.
Yeah, because I feel like when people come into the youth room at the library, we are helping them find all different types of books, not necessarily just fiction.
And honestly, not even just books.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So how do we do Reader's Advisory for people? I mean, I'm sure we each have our own technique or way that we do it, tools we use.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I start with is just suggesting I can tell you, like I can recommend a book for you. I think most people don't realize that that's something we do. Mm-hmm. People feel bad asking for it. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, I don't know what I want to read. And I'm like, that's okay. That's why I'm here. So
yeah.
Even just sort of really offering it and letting people know that that's something that we do. It's part of our job.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that like the reference interview, which is I think what you guys probably call it in adult services. I don't think we actually refer to it as that at all in youth. But just having a conversation with the person. In some cases, it's the parent of the child. In some cases, it's the actual child that's coming up and saying, hey, I need a book. Can you help me? Sometimes it's very specific, so we have to really kind of look a little bit deeper. And sometimes it's just like, hey, I need a book that I would like. And those, I think, are the most fun because then I can just say, well, what have you read before that you really liked? So we can do kind of a read-alike situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the parent thing is the part of it that I would be so unfamiliar with if I was sat at your desk. Because most reference interviews that I'll start with that. Like, what's the last book you read that you really liked? I don't know how I would handle that if it was a parent asking for the child.
Mm-hmm. So it's always interesting because personally for me, if the kid is there, I'm going to talk to the kid. Yeah. Even if the parent comes up and, you know, oh, she needs something to read for school. She's got a book report. We're looking for something she's going to like. I'm going to turn to the child and ask them what they like because they are going to better understand what they like and why they like it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we don't have that because the parent's coming in without the kid. I will generally go with if we know something that they have really enjoyed, but I will also ask about like things that they are interested in outside of books. Mm-hmm. If you know a kid's really into video games, there's a lot of books that kind of involve video games that are going to be probably an easier sell. If a kid is really into sports books are probably going to be an easier sell.
Absolutely.
So not even just what you've liked, but what do you like besides the books? And using, I almost look at books that they've liked as more of a what style of writing do you like or what kinds of characters do you like more than a what plot points do you like.
Yeah. What do you think are some common challenges in recommending books?
I think that it's hard for patrons to sometimes convey why they liked something.
Or even what they want.
Yes.
Sometimes the real question is trying to figure out what they're really looking for which may be hard for somebody to vocalize in a way. You know, like, oh, these are the books that I read. I don't really know what I like about them, especially if they don't have a specific genre that they really focus on. It can be hard to kind of glean that from them, too.
So I might ask, how do you want to feel? Do you want to be moved emotionally? Do you
that's
want
a good question.
to have something that is a challenge? Do you want to maybe have something that feels hopeful? So some of those questions might come up. The other thing is, like, what is the setting? Is this something before bed that you just want that's like pretty easy and will lull you to sleep? Do you want to read it on the beach during vacation with a margarita? So let's keep it to like something not too heady.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of people, it's hard to articulate what they're looking for with that sense of nuance.
Sure.
One of the most difficult things for me is people who come in because I'm recommending for kids. They're looking for a book, but they want something that's not too scary or not a lot of romance. And it's like, okay, I try to use what have you liked to gauge what is scary, but that doesn't even always work because, you know, there are some kids that the Harry Potter books are going to be really scary. So anything that's that similar level of context, I'm not going to give them that.
Right.
But there's some people who, that's not scary. I just don't want ghosts because ghosts, it's like looking at what is it that the patron means by scary? How do they quantify those things? Can be a really difficult thing to try and judge in the moment.
Yeah.
I know for me, the hardest part seems to be the same thing that brings the patrons to us in the first place. It's the overwhelming number of choices there are. You know, I think the library has something like 330,000 items in it over the whole library. And within that, there are probably, 700-800 that I would feel comfortable talking about. Things that I've either read or at least heard enough about to know the general reader type that goes into it. And how do I start to narrow that down to start feeling any level of confidence?
Yeah. One of my biggest challenges is that when we're working with families specifically, you'll have the parent that's looking for something and the child that's looking for something different.
Yep.
And for me, professionally, it's my job to make sure that both parties are happy. So sometimes there's a little of the, well, what do you think about this? And then, well, maybe we'll dial that back a little bit. And what do you think about this? And then we kind of come to a compromise. So, I mean, there is a point where you just have to have such a good handle on the material that you're looking at that you are able to kind of make those decisions on what is a compromise, right? Like, I've read these books and I know them well enough that I'm able to kind of see the difference and how it might be suitable for both parties. And if all else fails, I will always ask a staff member, because what I like to read or what I have read is going to be very different than a coworker. So I will help to a point, but I'm also happy to say, you should talk to Andy or you should talk to Lauren or whomever else is there because they might really have that solid understanding of exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, I am not the go-to person for picture books, and I know that. So I have some that I can recommend, but if I'm having a hard time, there are definitely coworkers who I'll be like, you know these so much better than me. What do you recommend?
Yeah.
Because it's not my wheelhouse.
So what are some of our favorite tools or resources that we use to do Reader's Advisory?
Mine, which I discovered recently, thank you, Shayna, is a subset of Literary Hub. So Literary Hub is a website. Part of that is called Bookmarks. Okay. And it is an aggregator of all your reviews for, I don't know how many, but we'll say like what is coming out from popular publishers. And it gives you, here were the number of rave reviews, good reviews, mixed reviews. So then you sort of get this idea of like, do I want something that is all rave reviews? Do I want something that's going to, and so from that collection, you can see, is this a rave review book? Is this a positive review book? Or is this a mixed review book?
Okay.
So it's really, really helpful so you aren't going to multiple websites. And then it tells you what websites reviewed it, and we'll give you like a one sentence from that website, from Publishers Weekly and from Booklist and from The Guardian, for example.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
So that's been my new favorite, my new go-to.
Sure.
Some things that I really find helpful for some of the things that are harder to search in our catalog for, or things like that. Does the dog die? And the trigger warnings that you can put in on Storygraph.
Okay.
Because Storygraph has the ability to put content warnings on reviews, so I can look it up on there and see what content review warnings people have added to it. Mm-hmm. Or if someone specifically like, I want an animal book, but I don't want the animal to die.
Right.
Being able to like go check, and Does the Dog Die has a ton of things. It's not just animal death, but it's one of the overly common tropes, particularly in a lot of kids' books, that they have named this site for. And it's just a really great way to be able to check if you have a specific thing that you're trying to avoid, you can look for that.
Storygraph and Goodreads have always been my favorite in those contexts. They do a really good job on their pages of, once you're on a specific book's page, it gives you regular consumer reviews pretty consistently, but it will also give you, the next 10 or 15 things like it. Mm-hmm. So if I'll turn the screen to them and we'll read through the synopsis together. And they're like, this sounds okay, but I'm not really feeling it right now. Cool. Mm-hmm. I don't even have to change the web page to see what other things to suggest next. And then it lets me get a little out of my own experiences with books that I recommend, to have other trails to go down.
I also use Goodreads a great deal, but we at the library have these really nice bibliographies that we put together as librarians in the youth area. And so each one of us is supposed to choose a certain number of titles for each age group, and then somebody compiles them and kind of makes them into a pamphlet. Mm-hmm. And so those have been really helpful specifically. Like we not only have ones by age, but we have them by topic and a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. So if a family comes into the library and says, I'm looking specifically for a great mystery for a third grader, I'm able to walk over to a wall, hand them an actual piece of paper that has, vetted titles that librarians that we have read and recommend for them. Those things are really, really helpful to us, but, not available to the general world. That's just something we use in the library.
We also have our book menu over by the fiction collection, which is fun for really niche topics. Some of the pages in there are like books about food. And it's, one of the books on that page is about a kid being a food critic and kid chefs and things like that. Books that are tearjerkers and will make you cry, things like that. Just topics that you might not have enough for a long bibliography. But here's a picture of covers and a call number, and you can go find it. And you can browse that without talking to someone.
Sure.
Or we're happy to help you, look at those and tell you more about those.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
Yeah, we also have a bibliography wall, but it cycles and gets replaced a lot more frequently than the youth side. So the youth side has several of them that you update every year, but stay generally the same. It's going to be the 100 books for K through 8. Right. Every grade level gets one. There are a lot of other consistent ones there, and we have fun bibs that we'll put together every month, but they'll disappear from the wall after 4 or 5 months as we cycle more through.
Sure.
So it's a lot of, they're fun to make and they're fun to walk patrons over to, but it's not really a staple resource for us.
Gotcha.
In the same way that it is in youth.
Yeah, yeah. So we decided to do something really fun for this episode, and we decided that we were going to do reader's advisory for each other. And kind of an odd idea, but I thought that the kids librarians could recommend kids books for the adult librarians and vice versa. So Killian and I discussed, and so we would like to recommend books for Amanda and Drew,
Yes,
but from
please.
the kids area, things that just based on what we know about you and your reading tastes. So we had to like dig in our brains and kind of think about what would be titles that would suit you guys. And you have done the same for us, yes?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, very good. All right, so I am going to recommend, we're going to recommend Winnie Nash is Not Your Sunshine. And that is by, let me find the author's name, Nicole Melby. I have it here. I'm going to pull it up so that I can look at it. Hold on.
Yeah. Youth was more prepared than adult in the sense that they brought the actual physical books to the recording studio.
We're just very used to props, story time, and all that.
Yes, if you would like me to read from it for you. Okay. So this book is our recommendation for Drew. All right. And so the summary of the book is Winnie Nash has to stay with her grandma for the summer because her mom is pregnant. And they decided that it would be just easier with all the stress of the house and everything if Winnie would go stay with her grandma for the summer. Her grandmother is an active part of an old folks' home. Gosh, that sounds terrible. Just, like a senior center kind of situation. And so Winnie starts going to the senior center with her grandma. Oh, first I should mention, her parents sit her down before she goes and tell her specifically not to tell grandma too much about what's going on at home, and don't tell her that you're gay. So she goes to the grandma's house, and she's been closeted by her parents, which she hasn't been this whole time. It makes her feel really uncomfortable because she's just like, well, what the heck? This is so bizarre. What difference does it make? She starts going to this senior center with her and becomes part of a book club with her grandma. Now, mind you, the other seniors do not want Winnie in their book club. They don't think that she needs to be there. And there's some boisterous sort of conversations about this. But Winnie likes to read, so she reads these books and joins in the conversations. So this whole story is basically about how she secretly wishes to attend Pride in New York City. She tries not to get outed by an old lady that's at the senior center because she's pretty sure this lady is onto her. And also worries about her mom's depression around the pregnancy, and that's kind of the whole spiel. So, like, what will happen with Winnie?
Gimme.
Yeah. This is for you. Okay. Do we want to split it up? How about you guys recommend one to us? So
Yeah,
we can do
I'll feed back to you and do the one for Nicole.
that. Okay.
So I chose Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
It is a fantasy. It is a fantasy book set in a world where the gods are maybe not active parts of the world, but similar to the Greek pantheon, where like they can be in communication. Mm-hmm. And it follows a group of paladins whose god died.
Okay.
And like the whole paladin concept is they are champions for their god.
Okay.
In the regular world. So it's like what becomes of all of their training, all of their customs, their mission.
Okay.
When their god, the thing that they've pledged themselves to, no longer exists.
Wow.
And like how to function in that world.
Mm-hmm.
And then within that, there are also romantic elements to each paladin's journey. It's just a really interesting world to live in.
Cool. I'm sold.
Yeah.
I'll read it.
I want to read it.
Yeah. Right? Okay. The book that I would like to recommend for Amanda. This is, the title is The Wrong Way Home. I'm grabbing it, sorry. And this is by Kate O'Shaughnessy. I know that Amanda really likes life situations and learning about other people's experiences, especially tough experiences. So I thought this book would be good for you. The story is about Fern, who has lived at the ranch since she was 6 years old. She thinks of it as an off-the-grid sustainable community, but it's really a cult.
Did you know that I love cult content?
I did not.
She loves cults.
Perfect. I'm sold.
So her mom, and I'm using air quotes, kidnaps her and flees to the completely other side of the country. Fern is upset and mad. She's so upset with her mom. She just wants to go back to the ranch. And she's upset that she has to live like a normie life, and she's got to be around these people and wear their clothes and go to school and all this stuff. She's trying as hard as she can to make contact with the ranch.
I love this.
I'm recommending this book for you.
Yes,
I'm handing it over,
please.
if you can hear that. No.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So, yeah. Okay. We thought you would like that.
Yeah.
And for Miss Killian,
This is clearly the hardest one, I'm sure, to figure out.
I would not be surprised if I've talked this book up to you before.
Probably.
A Taste of Golden Iron by Alexandra Rowland.
I don't know if you've talked it up to me, but I have heard of it.
Okay. So the starting premise is I believe he's a prince in their like nondescript Middle Ages society. And he, by virtue of this really intense anxiety that he's, suffering with in silence, a panic attack comes over him, not called that in the book, but that's what it is. And it results in the death of someone in the army, who is protecting him. And he is reassigned a new protector. And the relationship that they have is this really, really interesting build with very clear delineations between the distrust enemy status of it all, where the captain of the guard is very affronted by this prince and devastated that he is assigned to his duty because it doesn't respect him at all, to begrudging respect, to tolerance, and goes all the way to love. It's super cute. I know you're on this whole romantic kick right now, and I felt it would be perfectly in your wheelhouse.
Yay.
You know me well.
Yes.
All right. Well, I hope that some of our tips and tricks from today will be helpful to you. And as always, if you are not sure what you want to read, please go find your local librarian.
It's one of our favorite things.
It is. It really is. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Distracted Librarians.
Many thanks to BCTV for their support in recording, editing, and releasing this podcast, and to the Friends of the Library for sponsoring closed captioning on every episode.
If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to reach out to us at distracted@btpl.org.
Until then, keep those pages turning and those screens lighting up. We'll catch you in the next episode.
The views and opinions expressed in the Distracted Librarians podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Bloomfield Township Public Library, Bloomfield Community Television, the Birmingham Area Cable Board, or its producers or production staff.